regular meeting of the Wheeling Plant Commission is called to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Secretary, could you please take the roll?
Certainly. Commissioner Burns.
Here.
Commissioner Dorband.
Here.
Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Schaaf.
Here.
Commissioner Stylen.
Here.
And Chairman Raffato.
Here. Mr. Jennings, any changes to the agenda?
We have no changes this evening.
Obviously, we have no citizen concerns and comments, so we'll go to consent items, docket number SCBA 13-3, Wheeling Cleaners, 64 South Milwaukee Avenue. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion.
Mr. Chairman, please, one comment on the motion.
Yes.
The graphic of this new channel letter sign shows Cleaners in red, and then it has the raceway behind it, pretty much the same color. Is that really the plan, Andrew, do you know, or is it going to be a contrasting color?
We can add a condition that the raceway blend with the facade. Is it on the plan? Let me flip through it real quick. The note on the plan is that the raceway color is to match the adjacent tenant. It would be the Nail Tech tenant, which is...
Raceway is natural facade.
Okay.
Is there a need for an additional condition, or is the way that that's phrased acceptable?
That's acceptable to me. Thank you.
And we had a motion and a second.
Do you remember who made the
I believe it was Commissioner Stylen.
second
No.
by?
Or
Fine. It's silent.
Commissioner Dorband made the motion, and Commissioner Stylen seconded.
Please take the roll.
Commissioner Dorband.
Yes.
Commissioner Stylen.
Yes.
Commissioner Burns.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson, I vote yes. Commissioner Schaaf.
Yes.
And Chairman Raffato.
Yes. Items for review, docket number 2013-3, Stella's, 534A West Dundee Road, special use for a sit-down restaurant. Mr. Secretary.
Kim Keller, representative of Laredo Hospitality Ventures LLC as lessee, is seeking special use site plan approval as required under Title 19 zoning of the Wheeling Municipal Code, Chapter 19-05, Mixed Use and Overlay Districts, Chapter 19-10, Use Regulations, Chapter 19-12, Site Plan Approval Requirements and associated sections in order to establish a sit-down restaurant with entertainment, video gaming at 534A West Dundee Road within the Lynn Plaza Shopping Center. A zoning special use as defined in Title 19 of the Village of Wheeling zoning is a use of a parcel of land that requires review and consideration before approval due to circumstances or effects on the surrounding properties that may adversely affect them. In order to be considered for a special use, the petitioner is required to demonstrate through testimony to the Plan Commission at the public hearing why their request meets the conditions of the Village Code, including, but not limited to, how the proposed use will not damage the enjoyment or use of the surrounding properties. Prior to the public hearing, the petitioner provides written statements meant to show that their request for a special use meets the standards established in Title 19. The Commission chairperson will typically direct that these statements be entered into the record without a full reading of them at the hearing. Based upon the testimony and supporting materials submitted, the Plan Commission will make findings in support of or against the petitioner's testimony and report those findings to the Village Board.
Thank you. Mr. Jennings.
There are no additional staff comments at this time other than those that are in the staff report. I would ask that the petitioner come forward.
Good evening. Why don't you stand? I assume you're both going to speak. Could you please raise your hand, right hand?
you swear the testimony you give tonight to be the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. Could you give your names and work addresses to our secretary?
Yeah, Gary Leff,
Charity Johns.
and the work address is 2340 South River Road, Suite 118. We just moved there recently, sorry. And that is Des Plaines, Illinois, 60018.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Leff, the podium is yours.
So we're back, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to present to you this evening. We're here to talk about a location for our Stella's concept at Wheeling Lim Plaza. As Andrew said, space 534A. I'm going to take you quickly through a presentation. Since we did this a couple of weeks ago, we'll go fast on the beginning part. We're Laredo Hospitality. I'm Gary Leff. I'm the CEO. This is Charity Johns, our VP of Operation. We're talking to you tonight about our Stella's concept. We went through this last presentation, but just some quick background on us again, a refresher. Our team is locally owned, and collectively we have over 50 years of restaurant and hospitality experience. Some projects that I've been involved with are, I was the founder of a concept called Stir Crazy, our second location of which we opened up in Northbrook Court and is still operating today. I sold that when it was 10 units back in 2006 and haven't been involved since. I've been involved in various other projects, most recently led the design and the development of the whole entire front of house experience at the Rivers Casino and Des Plaines. So all the branding, design, and development of all the venues and the floor experience there. Charity Johns, who again is our Vice President of Operation, has been in the restaurant and hospitality industry for over 20 years. Most recently, she was the VP of Operations for Cozy, which is a sandwich cafe with over 140 locations nationwide. And prior to that, she was a VP of Operations at Jamba Juice and a senior manager at Starbucks. I'm now going to hand it over to Charity to take you through the Stella's concept.
Good evening.
Good evening.
All right, so because we didn't have the opportunity potentially to go through all of our slides the last time we were here to present, I thought it was really important that you sort of got to see the look and feel of the Stella's concept. It is a neighborhood cafe. It's a gathering place for adults. It's 21 and over, and it also allows for video gaming. It's a personalized, friendly environment. If you think in terms of people knowing your name, your neighborhood place, it really is going to have that kind of level of service. It's going to be a personalized service place where we get to know you and what you like to drink or what you like to eat. The cafe, as you can see, probably on your screens in front of you, and for those in the audience, is up front in the environment. We have our cafe counter and food service area right there in the middle of the environment, somewhat separating the gaming and entertainment area, but not completely separated from the space. We want the entertainment area to be part of the actual venue so that people can kind of go in between both areas very comfortably and feel welcome to do so. You'll see that we're going to offer a very personalized service. I think I just talked a little bit about that welcoming, but let me tell you some of the thoughtfulness that went into the environment. You'll see there's some really warm finishes, really well lit. You'll see that there's a carpeted area in the gaming area. Towards the back, there'll be some poof seating. Think of those big cube seatings you see out now in the department stores that you can pull up next to your partner and sit and game so you can sort of enjoy the environment together. There'll be some personalized areas at the gaming stations to plug in your electronics. We know that's important. Hang up your coat. Be able to have a swing arm so that you can enjoy your meal or your beverage while you're enjoying the environment as well. So both areas will serve as part of the cafe as well. Our menu is light bites and sort of small plates. You're probably very familiar with cafe food probably by now, but if you think in terms of how people are eating these days and the trends that we're seeing in food and beverage, this really speaks to that. There's some shareable nature to the menu. You'll see spinach artichoke dip, you'll see pretzels with dipping sauce, warm, heated through the oven, but you'll also see things like personal pizzas, you'll see things like little mini sliders, sort of the minis that you see out now on almost everybody's menu. You'll see some things that are also served for breakfast, fresh egg sandwiches, and we can even make you a frittata. Breakfast for dinner is always good. Then you'll probably wonder, who do we expect to use the facility? I think I talked a little bit about 21 and older. It really is an environment that I'm not going to take my 9-year-old to. Although I love her, she just doesn't get to go out and have a glass of wine with me while I'm out with friends, potentially enjoying Stella's. It is a form of entertainment. It provides a cafe for people who enjoy gaming as their form of entertainment, as opposed to a bar environment. It skews female, mostly women that are about the ages of 45 to 75. It is really that comfortable, welcoming environment, a place that my mom and I could go, have a glass of wine, try our luck, and enjoy each other's company. That's sort of how I think about this concept as we bring it forward. You'll see that we'll have personalized service and want to go into sort of nice anchored shopping centers where it's well lit and people feel really comfortable coming and going. I'm going to turn it over to Gary. He'll talk a little bit about the design team and the marketing team that we've been working with to pull this all together at the level at which it is now.
Great. As I mentioned last time we presented, our design team that we've assembled is the same team that I worked with at the Rivers Casino to develop all the venues there, including the Hugo's Chop Bar that is the Gibson's restaurant, with the Gibson's Restaurant Group. Our designer architect is DMAC Architecture. They're an award-winning Chicago-based architecture firm. They've done a lot of hospitality work over the last 15 years, spa work, car dealership work, and I think they're one of the best. And Studio Lab is also a world-class branding design firm from Toronto. And as you can see here, I think they did a great job in displays. Not saying our level of finishes are going to be exactly that. Our budget's a little different. But the point here is we're going to put together a really nice product for Lynn Plaza. And so I just want to end it by saying, why is Laredo Hospitality a good fit for the Wheeling community? We're locally owned and operated, and we're committed to being in our venues regularly. Charity lives probably less than 20 minutes from here. I live, maybe 35, 40 minutes, and we are highly experienced restaurant and hospitality professionals with a passion to deliver only the highest quality experiences. So we will be in these units. We're not going to be absent. We think it provides an attractive and unique experience for the residents of Wheeling and visitors alike. And last but not least, we anticipate this will generate significant tax revenues for the communities. By our estimates, again, we talked about this previously, but based on the research we've done of comparable markets and comparable concepts, we think this location will generate roughly somewhere between $30,000 and $40,000 annually of gaming tax revenue. So that's that would be Wheeling's share of the gaming tax revenue. And with that said, I will hand it back over for questions.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone wishing to speak on this subject? Lou, could you please raise your right hand? Do you swear the testimony you give to be the truth tonight?
I do.
Again, could you give your name and address to our secretary?
Kathy Gilroy, 230 West Division, Villa Park. Good evening. No one has paid me to be here, nor will I profit, no matter what you do, as most gambling pushers will. Those who will profit from residents' pain will not tell you the ABCs of convenience gambling, which include addictions, bankruptcies, crime, corruption, child abuse, divorces, embezzlements, homelessness, poverty, and suicides. Wheeling has given up all control of licensing one-armed bandits to the state. A Wheeling liquor license entitles any business to apply for a license from the Illinois Gaming Board. Wheeling can only issue, decline, or revoke liquor licenses. In addition, the Illinois legislature, in their desperate attempts to raise revenue, could increase the number of slots allowed from the current 5 to 10 or more. The legislature could raise the tax on families' losses from the current 30% to 50% or more. South Dakota did. Cook County recently approved a tax of $200 per machine. Illinois did raise taxes on casinos after they opened, and after the 10th and last one opened, is trying to double the number of casinos allowed. If the state allowed it, and easily could, slots could arrive in Wheeling grocery stores and gas stations. If the state increased their take, it would hurt local businesses. Do you trust that the state will not try to tap every stream of money that they can? 10 casinos were legalized with the promise of fleecing mainly tourists. It was found to be a lie because clientele of even large casinos come mainly from within a close radius of the casino. The more accessible gambling is, the more likely that those who try it, your friends, neighbors, and relatives, will become addicted to it. People go to casinos with the intent to gamble. Neighborhood gambling seduces those who are intending to do something else. Freedom without morality leads to self-destruction. No one is born an addicted gambler, yet over 9,000 people in Illinois have become so addicted that they have volunteered to be arrested if they are caught in an Illinois casino. They do not have that fear hanging over their heads at neighborhood gambling joints. On January 4th, the spokesman for the Gaming Board said that video gambling is going, quote, hog wild, unquote. That's scary. At a 1% addiction rate, which 370 Wheeling neighbors are you willing to sacrifice on the altar of profit? An Oregon state government study reported that 2 out of 3 pathological gamblers commit crimes to support their habit. Which 247 neighbors do you nominate to be sentenced as first-time criminals because of Wheeling slots? Do you rank greater profits for Wheeling bars as more important than a friend who loses everything to gambling? Wheeling nonprofit organizations were once given a monopoly on gambling. That advantage was lessened when casinos opened. Having casinos in Wheeling takes nonprofits' advantage away completely by favoring of profits for casinos over successful fundraising. States and countries that legalized one-armed bandits many years ago are now banning them, but finding it almost impossible to get rid of them. Is Wheeling doomed to repeat their history because you're not able to learn from it? Did you intend to invite one-armed bandits to Wheeling, or did you allow them in response to pleas from long-established liquor-serving businesses? Will you allow more liquor licenses in town to accommodate out-of-towners and their gambling cafes, which will compete with existing businesses that are trying to survive? When is enough enough? Legal addictive activities are allowed only in certain places. Smoking is legal. Do you allow it in this room? Alcohol is legal. Do you allow it as we're driving home? Slots are legal. You can control whether you want them in Wheeling family businesses. Please remember that you legalized video gambling to help existing Wheeling businesses. Please don't approve new competition for them. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments from the audience? Thank you. We'll close that portion that could be reopened later, I so choose. We will go to Commissioner comments and questions. Commissioner Burns.
Thank you. Mr. Leff, We went through a very similar presentation, of course, and questions and answers, and I just have a few questions and comments. At that previous presentation, you expected revenue to be kind of a 50-50 split between the cafe and the gaming machines. Is that what you expected? Stella's as well?
Yeah, roughly. I mean, we're, and I gave you a rough answer last time, but if you take our net revenue, yes, it is 50, it'll be roughly 50-50.
Do you operate any gaming cafes now?
We do not. We have not opened any gaming cafes as of yet.
So your educated guess on the 50-50, I'll call it. How do you come up with that?
We've done just modeling based on how many people we think are coming into the establishment and what we're selling, you know, how many customers we're selling, what we're selling average check. We've done some just rough calculations on that to get to that number. And it's, you know, I don't know if we need to go through all that calculus, but that's how we've gotten to a 50-50. But to your point, we don't know for certain until we open up what that split will be. I mean, could it be 40-60, 60-40? Yes. It's an educated guess.
You've done some research on the cafes they're similar, aren't they, in Oregon and
Yes.
some other states?
Yes.
Okay.
We don't have numbers on those cafes, and I think those cafes, the mix would be less food and beverage and more gaming. I can't tell you exactly what that is because we're not privy to that information. Let's call it, you know, maybe 20-80. We think ours is higher because we're putting forth what we believe to be a true cafe offering and a true cafe experience. It is 21 and over, but with we believe it's going to be higher. And plus the environment that we've created is a lot warmer, a lot friendlier, a lot more attractive, quite frankly, than what we saw in those two states.
Oregon and what's the other state?
West Virginia.
West Virginia. Are they limited to 5 games in those states?
Yes, they are. It's 6 games in Oregon. At one time it was 5 games. I don't think the state will ever increase it to 10 games. Is there a possibility that the state goes to 6 games at some point? Yes, 7 games, maybe. I don't think there's any chance it goes beyond that. And I think that's off. I quite frankly don't believe that's going to happen. West Virginia, and Oregon's been up and running for 20 years. West Virginia has been up and running since 2002, and there are 5 machines, and they've maintained at 5 machines for the last 10 years, with no plans that I know of to increase.
Okay. I guess it would have been nice. You got some nice photos here from Rosemont, and you got your animation of the projected what Stella's will look like, but some photos of what some of those gaming facilities look like in Oregon or West Virginia, I think would be helpful, maybe for the village board when you go before them. Can adults bring children in?
No, it's a strictly 21 and over
Okay.
facility.
So a shopper cannot leave him and his grocery with their child, their under 21-year-old child, or probably well under 21 if they're at the grocery store with mom or dad. They're not coming in as a group because no one under 21 is coming in.
No one under 21 in the facility.
Okay. Thank you. Those are my questions and comments, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Dorban.
Thank you. This is the first establishment like this anywhere in Illinois, is that right?
There are other competitors, primarily some groups from Oregon and West Virginia that have come into the state. As far as I know, they are not poking, or we don't know of any locations that they've secured in Wheeling. We are familiar with locations that they've secured in other jurisdictions like Hoffman Estates, Oak Lawn, Bartlett. You know, it's a big list. But no, we are under construction on a couple of units. We're not opened yet. We're waiting for a gaming license, and our competitors also are still in the process of constructing, and waiting for gaming licenses. I mean, this only went live back in October with the gaming board, and so everyone was on hold until it officially went live. And there's probably a 3-month wait now on getting through the licensing process with the Illinois Gaming Board. So I would expect that you will see, one of ours open probably sometime in March, maybe April. And that could be, as I mentioned last time, Hoffman Estates in the shopping center with the Marianos. Yeah, there's none of them open yet at this point.
Out of curiosity, you said Hoffman Estates and Bartlett was the other one?
Yes, Bartlett.
Right. Obviously, we have a lot of towns around here. Why did you choose Wheeling?
Charity lives up on the North Shore. I've done business on the North Shore for the last 15, 20 years. I have family that lives close by in Northbrook. I'm very familiar with the area. I like the demographic, I like the community, and I like the shopping center and the traffic. So it's a comfort zone for us. And I've operated in the North Shore, and I think I have a good sort of grip on what the expectation of what a North Shore or Wheeling, guest expects, and we know how to deliver that experience.
In addition to, you're saying that there would be revenues of $30,000 to $40,000 a year. Is there any other revenue benefit?
For the Village of Wheeling?
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's sales tax on our food and beverage piece. I have to do that math, but it's a lot less than the 30 or 40 grand. But it's your typical, the real estate taxes are being paid anyway, and then the food and beverage tax, sales tax, which, whatever Wheeling's percentages of that, and the gaming tax.
Have you entertained looking at any other communities other than Wheeling? I mean, you said you're both from, around here. Are you looking at anything else in this area? Or have you gone to any other villages and talked with them?
On the North Shore, I don't believe so on the North Shore. What's that? Mundelein, but that's not really the North Shore. That's way up there. No, I mean, we do have, some other locations that we're working on, Hoffman Estates, Bartlett, Oak Lawn. But in terms of communities that are within, call it 10 miles, no.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Schaaf.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 2 weeks ago, you gave us a presentation. What's the difference between Stella's and Maxine's?
Good question. Stella's is more of a cafe concept. It is, the food setup is a little bit more cafe-like in terms of the menu items. Maxine's tends to be a little bit more of a wine bar vibe. It's a tad more sophisticated, wine bar. And that mostly impacts our menu. Things like cheese plates, hummus dip, crab cake sliders. I mean, it's stuff that just pairs a little bit better in that environment. But they're fairly similar, other than in the menu and design.
Okay. I know that the first question on the special use is there's no other location, and I know that you are planning the one in the Fresh Farms Plaza. Mm-hmm. So this one would actually be the second.
Correct, for Laredo Hospitality.
Okay, so you do intend to go before the board without the Plan Commission's recommendations? Or with the recommendations that you got?
Yeah, I mean, I think we owe it to ourselves and to our landlords, Figos, to at least see that through. You know, I'm not sure how that's going to play out, but we've put a lot of time and effort and money into signing a lease and developing plans. Figos has done the same. We're committed through our lease to at least see that through the process, to use best efforts. So we will at least see it through. I'm not sure how that'll turn out, but yes.
Okay. I would submit that the same conditions, except for the restrictive hours, I really don't have a problem with the restrictive hours at Lynn Plaza than we did with the one at Fresh Farms because of the neighborhood that it's in. What are your hours going to be at Stella's?
It's similar to what we discussed a couple weeks ago. It's the liquor license hours, and we may condense those depending on volume of traffic, but we do serve a full breakfast menu with coffee, freshly made breakfast sandwiches, muffins, cinnamon buns, stuff like that. So we plan on opening as early as 7 a.m. And closing as late, and probably on the weekends. I don't imagine we'll do this during the week, but as late as 2 a.m.
Okay. So those, at least those two conditions, no one under 21, and what was the no other gaming establishment within Lynn Plaza.
Yeah, and
either by your company or anybody else's.
Yeah, and
company.
I think we're comfortable with that. Our lease for Lynn Plaza actually gives us an exclusive, so they are prohibited from doing that. But yes.
Okay, my comment, and this is as much to the commission, is I am reluctant to approve a second establishment without ever looking as to what effect the gaming and your establishment at Fresh Farms, without taking a look at that. And I don't mean a week or a couple of weeks, but I mean 6 months to a year, to see what effect your establishment has on this community. I really don't have a problem with Lynn Plaza. I think it's a much better location than the one at Fresh Farms because of the neighborhood. You're not, you don't have the same problem. You don't have the parking problem. You don't have the neighborhood. There's not a school that's within walking distance of Lynn Plaza. Mm-hmm. The Wheeling High School is pretty near, but that's still a little jaunt. So I want to see the industry come in. I just don't want these establishments popping up all over the place. Those are my comments, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you. Well, yeah, we did go through this 2 weeks ago, and I agree that this is a much better location for this. Still not sure that it's the best location in Wheeling that you could pick, but that's your gamble, not. And while I'm not a big fan of gambling, mostly because of my poor luck at it, I don't really see a problem in putting it in Lynn Plaza. That's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner Stalin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In the Stella's brochure that you handed out, right, the furniture is all wood or wood treatments, whatever. And in some of the other examples, that you gave of other areas. They have plastic tables and plastic chairs. Is the interior that your brochure shows going to be representative of what you actually plan to put in? Wood tables, wood-looking tables, wood?
What I'll say is the quality and the design aesthetic will absolutely represent that. We are making some change. Those renderings are 2, maybe 3 months old, and as happens in the design process, we end up tweaking things. But I would say it's 90% of what you see, and we believe anything that's changed is an improvement. So, I'm not going to say you're going to see exactly that, but I can say, at least in our eyes, we think it's as good or better.
Andrew, could you possibly go back to the design team slide? In the group of 3 in the middle, the center section, is it possible that Stella's could have that kind of furniture around?
In the middle, in the coffee shop? So we should hire you. Because it's funny, the tables, we have a wood floor in there, and we've been testing different tabletops against that floor, and we thought wood on wood was too much wood. So we're actually looking at more of a solid surface table. We think, but that's nice, it's cafe-like. But we are considering a table similar to that. So that's why I'm saying we think it's an improvement in some of the things we're doing. We could show you updated renderings if you'd like. They're not as fully developed as what we've shown you here, but the team we've assembled, DMAC, they don't put their name on projects that aren't well executed. And everything we've been involved with is high quality, and our reputations are at stake. So we're highly confident that we're going to deliver an experience that we're proud of, the center's proud of, and that Wheeling and Wheeling's residents can feel good about.
I would suggest that possibly you give a reasonable rendering of what the inside of your establishment is really going to look like when you get to the village board.
The only thing that's different in here, the floor is the same as what you see, the lighting's the same, the ceiling's the same, the screen dividers are actually going to be a lot nicer, more dense, more wood in there. The back wall you see and the carpeting is we have a nice wallpaper back there, the poofs. The only thing that we are working on right now to change is the chairs are wood. We've actually spec'd them. We've bought them. We can show them to you. They're very nice. They're wood chairs, well constructed. The tabletop may change. We're working on that now. And the bar, as you see it there, it's a solid surface top. That's not going to change, but the design of that is actually going to be more interesting. And instead of wood on that, we're looking at a really nice penny tile, which is actually much nicer than the wood that you see here. And we got there because we tested the wood and we looked at it and it didn't fit right. So it's a lot of effort for us to go back and change these renderings to make them exact. But I'd say this is 95%.
But if you have purchased the chairs, I'm sure you could take a camera and take a picture of them.
Yeah, that's fine. We can do that.
And just show our trustees what you're planning on.
We will take our best stab at updating this for what we have, what we know has changed. That's fine.
Okay, and then looks like the rest of the questions that I have are more for our staff. Andrew, Are the number of slot machines that exist in one of these establishments controlled by the state of Illinois, or are they controlled by the Village of Wheeling? Can we put a condition on the establishment that would limit the number of machines, or would the state be able to override that condition?
I don't know the exact language of the state's regulation. It is controlled by the state, but I don't know to what extent the village has the ability to go below that number.
So if we put a condition on the special use limiting the number of machines to 5, we could try that, and then the village attorney could figure out whether it was applicable or not, or meant anything, or...
Well, the current limit is 5. If the consensus of the commission is to make that recommendation, I don't think that there's an issue of inserting the current regulation.
Well, the current regulation is not the Village of Wheeling regulation.
That's correct.
So I would feel a lot more comfortable with the Village of Wheeling condition as opposed to a state of Illinois condition, which the lady seemed to say they could change if they wanted to. That would seem to imply that it would change for us without our control. So,
if that's the consensus of the commission, we could certainly add it as a condition and run it by the attorneys.
We can do a poll on that later, Mr. Chairman, maybe?
I've got it written down.
Can I just make a comment on that?
Sure.
Please? Like I said, I think it's very doubtful that it'll expand, and I guess I would ask that the commission consider, if they're going to put a cap on it, capping it at 7, let's say. And my concern is 6 or 7. Again, I don't think it's likely, but the reason I'm concerned is if the state would increase the number because they're also increasing the taxes. They may increase their share of the taxes. They may increase the local community's share of the taxes. And our economics are at risk if we were limited to 5 machines with a much higher tax without the ability to add the other machine or 2. So what happened in Oregon is they did increase the taxes over time, and in exchange for that, they gave 1 more machine. It would, again, be detrimental to our economics if that were to happen and we were capped from adding that additional machine or 2.
And I'll give the same to you. If the state ever did decide to do that, you can always come back and ask for the cap to be changed, expanded, whatever. So, I mean, it's just a starting point now. And like Commissioner Schaaf said, this is kind of a new venture for the village, and I don't mind giving it a try. I'd much prefer giving 1 a try and seeing how it works rather than 2, but we've got 2 in the mill right now, so I would just prefer to cap it if we can. I don't even know if it's possible. So my next question for staff is, this comes under the special use clause of our ordinances. Is that solely because of the restaurant use, or do we now have a special use for gaming as well?
It is both. The gaming aspect is considered entertainment, specifically regular entertainment in the code. Irregular entertainment is, or infrequent entertainment would be entertainment that is less than 10 times in a calendar year, because the gaming terminals would be permanently located. They're considered to be a permanent entertainment feature, which requires specific mention on a special use. In this case, special use is for the restaurant. It does need to mention the gaming terminal.
So if they did, for whatever reason, decide not to have restaurant or food or sell liquor or whatever and just go completely on a gaming clause, they would still fall under this special use that we're considering tonight.
That's true. There would be a lot that would have to change in order for that to occur, but that would be true.
Okay, thank you. And then one last question for the fire department. In your staff report, I believe it's, I'll just say it looks like condition number 2, which says the occupancy load of the restaurant shall not exceed 32, which is 29 patrons and 3 employees as occupants. And then it goes on to say the actual occupancy load shall also not exceed the occupancy requirement in Chapter 10 of the 2012 edition of the International Building and Fire Prevention Code. So it looks like we've got 2 statements that are limiting the occupancy of the building. Can you tell me what the actual real limit of occupancy will be?
At this point, we have not had a set of actual scaled drawings to work with and determine the actual occupancy load. We're basing it solely on the dimensions that are listed in the petitioner's submittal, and their numbers appear to be within the requirements in Chapter 10 of the Building Code. In fact, the petitioner's earlier presentation clarified an item because in their cover letter that they submitted, they had a range of patrons using the facility, and I used the lesser of the 2 numbers that they had in the presentation or in the letter, and they explained that there is a settee couch or something along the one wall that wasn't clear what that was on the drawing that was submitted, and I've roughly calculated that this evening, and that would appear to fit within the requirements of the building code, which would be 37 occupants instead of the 32 in my review letter. But the building code requirements would seem to support their numbers, but it just needed to provide an out, if you want to call it that, if the numbers don't work out correctly, because they can't exceed what the building code requires.
Okay, so at some point in time, though, we will have a definitive single number that represents the occupancy.
Yes, I'm fairly confident that it would fit into that 37 number, but until I verify it with a set of scaled drawings during the building review process, I really won't know for sure.
And the couch that you talk about, is that the couch that's shown on our diagram that's kind of along the rear? I guess it would be westerly.
Right, there's five little boxes.
Yeah.
That wasn't clear what those were. I didn't know if they were tables or...
Those are actually movable poofs, as we call them, which will be set up along the back, and you can pull them up along a game if you want to game with a friend. So they're, little square or round poofs. Probably square for this.
Well, again, we have to take into consideration the amount of aisle space that would be subtracted from the net square footage within the space to make sure that you don't exceed the occupancy, that you can exit people properly from the space in an emergency.
Yeah, looks to be a little bit more narrow than the Maxine's.
Yes.
Right, this is a little, the tenant space is narrower than that space was, but they're showing sufficient aisle space, and the seats are typical architectural sizes for a small restaurant of this type.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Antor, anything else?
Nope, that would have covered the only thing I would have brought up.
Thank you. And then from the Health Division, you saw the comment about the grease trap that you need for, that was in the, in the village's write-up about the review, Health Division review, the staff review says that there's a grease trap is required. You're all well aware of that needed. So if we can stay on the seating, and I think it's important that if you look at that seating right now, what I've seen is 29 patrons and I think 3 employees. But if you look at this actual seating, there's 22 seats around the tables, and then the 5 gaming areas. That's 22 and 5 is 27. Now, the little circles around by the gaming tables, are those tables or are those also seats?
I'm sorry,
Around the gaming?
No, those are those are little tables.
Okay, great.
Likely to be on a swing arm if
That's
someone
fine.
wants to eat
Just wanted to make
next
sure.
them. Yes.
So you've got 22 and 5 is 27, and 5 additional poofs is 32.
Right.
But we always see 29.
That's because if you include the 2 ADA seats on the one table, we count that as a 4.
Okay, so that's even more than
Yeah, so
29.
it's 29, that's how you get to the 29 to 34, right? So we have 10 two-tops plus the 4, which is the 24, plus the 5 in the back, which is 29.
Okay.
And then if you add the 5 poofs, that's where we say it could be up to 34.
So does that, that's where,
Those are the correct numbers. You have 16 up in the front entrance area, 8 along the kitchen area, 5 in the gaming area, plus 5 more for the poofs in that area. So that comes up to 34.
right.
And then the 3 employees gets you to 37.
So do we need that clarified? I mean, everything says 29 and 3. So if it's going before the village board, we want to make sure that the numbers are correct. Possible seating.
The only difference between a 29 and 3 is the additional 5 for those other seating areas.
Right.
Thanks. Okay. Yes, Commissioner Torben.
Thank you. I just would like a clarification on the hours, because when I looked at the Stella's menu, the hours say Sunday through Thursday, 9 to 11, and then Friday and Saturday, 9 to 1. But what you stated is different than what's here, so I want to make sure we...
Yeah, those were from a sample presentation 3 months ago for a different purpose and not specifically for this purpose, so I apologize for not dialing that in. But the hours that I referenced earlier are the correct hours.
Can you repeat those again, for me, please?
As early as 7, again, we'll adjust accordingly depending on volumes of business, and as late as 2 a.m.
And we need something more definitive than what you're telling us. So actually, thank you, because I was going to bring that up next. Tell us what your hours are going to be. Right now,
7 a.m. to 2 a.m.
Every day?
Yes.
Okay. 7 to 2. Okay. So we have that. Mr. Clodney? I've got a question for you, so if you can come up here and I can swear you in. You swear the testimony you give today to be the truth?
I do.
And could you give your name to our secretary?
Mike Kolodny,
And just a business address.
6160 Cicero in Chicago.
Thank you. We were talking about limiting the gaming within that shopping center. To what extent does your leases cover within that shopping center?
Well, Gary's got the exclusive to be the only gaming establishment in the center. So if another company came in, we wouldn't be able to lease to them.
In the attached center, I mean, you have detached buildings on that property.
Market Square Restaurant's the only detached building.
Right, is that part of your lease agreement?
Would be part of the center. Yeah, would be part of Lynn Plaza.
So you control the lease on that piece of property also?
That is a land lease. We own the land, they own the building, they lease the land under the building.
So that is going to be, just for clarification, so that is my assumption, Mr. Jennings, is that that's part of the shopping center. So that's going to be the exclusive lease, gaming lease in that property. I mean, that's part of their lease, and Commissioner Schaaf wanted it as a condition, so we need to ensure that covers everything.
Now, is that the consensus with that?
Well,
information?
that's gonna be one of my polls. Okay, thank you, sir. Okay. Let's go through here. Oh, the obvious, one of the other questions, Mr. Leff, is smoking. What are you going to do about that? Within 15 feet, can't smoke within 15 feet of the entrance and entrance to any building, any establishment in that center. And I know you've got doors that are to other retail outlets that are less than 15 feet. So what is your proposal?
It's a good question. We have just recently discussed that, and we have a few options. One is, and I don't know if there's a site plan here. Do we have a site plan?
No.
So there is a piece in front of the center, on the southeast corner of the center, a patch of grass around the corner from where we are that we could designate as a smoking area, either put a bench and or a smoker's pole, where people basically can put their ashes into. That's one option. We think that's the best option, the safest option. There's also potentially an option to put a smoker's pole on an island that's a parking island, but right across from our establishment, and that would be a secondary option. We will enforce, people not to smoke in front of our door or anyone else's door, and we can push them to one of those two areas.
Okay, so I'm going to, and again, we'll do a consensus here, a poll, but I want that established here now as to what you're going to do. We don't, as a commission, we don't like options. I mean, we like something that is actionable right now. So, Plan Commission members, any comments about that? They have an option of either one place or two places, with outside the 15 feet of the establishment.
I just wonder how they're going to manage that when the snow is coming down and the sleet is coming down, and the further you make it away from the establishment, the harder it is going to be for people to walk down there to smoke.
How about if we establish that they put one of those smoking areas closest to their store. At least they have it during the nice days. And, today technically is a nice day. It's cold as heck out there, but at least they can walk out there. And you're going to have to put some signage around. So I assume you're coming back for signs.
For approval for signage? Yeah, if necessary, of course.
Right. Yeah, right. Well, signs are necessary.
Yeah.
Signs are necessary, and coming before us is necessary.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
wasn't sure if it was
at
part
that
of the
time,
process.
I think if we've established what that signage is going to be for no smoking, that might be helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But I would like to see something, a permanent area established, and if you're using the island closest to your store, I'm okay with that. But if you have a bench there and a smoking pipe or whatever the heck they call them, then that's fine.
Excuse me, I'm not really sure. The other option was, you said the the southeast corner behind, right there, and all those trash containers are there, and
If you could come up.
oh, okay,
if you
now
could
I
come
got
up
it.
and If you're going to speak.
I got it. Okay.
Because you can stay up here, Mr. Leff. It's,
The area I was referring to is, as you come down the sidewalk, you're walking west on Dundee. There's a sidewalk to the west of the tracks between, I guess, the sidewalk and our parking lot is a little grassy area. It's not big, but that's where I figured. There's no trash containers there to the north of there.
Yeah, because those are off to the east, aren't they, or around the corner?
Yeah, or
The
behind,
trash
they're behind the
con-
stores.
Yeah, because I don't want any smoking around those trash containers.
Well, then you also have another issue because employees of the stores smoke behind their stores.
Yeah, yeah.
But, I mean, that was the one area I thought of as the grassy area, and it's away from some of the traffic.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. That was the question I had.
Mr. Stylen? Comments?
No, as long as we discuss that poll that you were going to take on a number of machines.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, are we taking a poll on the?
No. I was just
Okay.
looking for some comments on the smoking area.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry.
Just some comments on the smoking area. Commissioner Dorban, I think you would already comment anything else on the just smoking area? No. Commissioner Johnson?
No.
Commissioner Burns?
It needs to be designated, and a site plan or aerial photography for the village board would be very helpful.
Right.
So they know
So
exactly where.
if everybody's okay with the consensus, go to the closest area, and something established, what you're going to put there, bench or whatever, and then what I'd like to see is, if you come back for signage, if this gets approved for signage, then you tell us what you're going to be doing, signage for no smoking in front of your establishment. And speaking of your establishment, and then I'll get to the polls, is the, and I know we had talked about it when you were coming from Maxine's. Anything in the windows, curtains, things like that, or that will hide things, from the outside and things, so.
No, we, our screens that separate the gaming area from the cafe area, we think do a good enough job from the outside, people looking in so they can't see the gaming. And we want this to be a warm, and inviting place, so we do not plan to screen the cafe at all. We plan to have the glazing and leave it open.
Okay. And we had talked about this the last time, two things that I just want to bring up again, because maybe some people that didn't see the other session that we had. Training for your employees. I know there's the liquor training that has to occur, but also from a gaming perspective, right now I know there's nothing in the state that's established. What do you provide from a gaming perspective?
We are developing that right now. Our training, in fact, Charity and our Director of Operations, Mary Batten, are, I believe, next week, we're meeting with Bally's on Monday. They're one of the manufacturers that we're likely to include in our game setup. Also, Intergaming IGT will be another manufacturer that we're using, and we plan to put together extensive training for our employees to know the machines inside and out so they can assist the guests with any questions they have on specific games or wagering or what have you. So we will have extensive training around gaming with our staff. We're developing that program currently.
So that will be in place before you open these?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. And then lastly, around security. You're not having specific security in your establishment?
We will have a security system. We anticipate having 20, or not 20, up to 20, but probably 12 cameras will be captured, via a data or video feed. We will store those tapes for, I believe, 30 days. We will be able to watch it live, on our smartphones or at the office, or, if we want to monitor it. But we'll have other security in there in terms of, alarms, panic doors at the back and stuff like that. So the place will be outfitted with a very good security system.
Mr. Jennings, has our police department done any analysis of, it's so new that they probably haven't.
They have reached out to the communities in Illinois that have participated in the sort of early opening of the terminals. There's been no definitive response at this time from the communities they've reached out to.
Okay, great, thank you. Thank you. Well, that's all I had, and I've got a number of things that, I know we'd like to take a poll on a condition for the number of machines, but also the hours of operation. As a commission, are the 7 to 2 hours okay for everyone? Commissioner Schaaf?
I have no problem with that.
Okay, Commissioner Stalin?
At this location.
Right, okay.
At this location, I don't have a problem.
Commissioner Dorbin?
None.
Commissioner Johnson?
No problem.
Okay, nor do I. Okay, and we talked about exclusivity. Is that, I know it's in their lease, is that something that we want to add as a condition to this petition? Commissioner Schaaf?
I would like to see it added just to stipulate no other gaming, whether it's this company or any other company, within that shopping center.
Okay, Commissioner Stalin?
Because it's so new, I'd like to see it limited for right now. They can always come back in the future.
Commissioner Dorbin?
I'd like to see it limited as well.
Okay, Commissioner Johnson?
I'd like to see it limited, but I thought that part of the Illinois law regulating this was limiting one establishment within 1,000 feet of another.
I thought it had, maybe I misunderstood it. I thought it was connected to the liquor licenses.
It's connected to the liquor licenses. There is no regulation in the statute as it currently exists to limit the number in any center or any distance. The gaming board has said that they're not going to approve anyone same ownership, putting these next to each other. But that's the only public comment that I'm aware of that the IGB has made, and it is not in their statute.
But you're saying same ownership, so I think what we're trying to do is establish that only one, period.
Yeah, no, I'm saying the IGB does not.
No matter who the owner is.
I understand the IGB. What I'm saying is IGB does not cover that in their current legislation statutes.
Okay, I thought I had read that somewhere, but maybe I'm mistaken.
It's 1,000 feet from an off-track betting facility.
Oh, okay.
OTB, yeah.
Commissioner Burns, did I pull you?
No, this would be one of those conditions that concerns me that it's probably not right to put it on this petitioner because it's out of this petitioner's control. The shopping center owner is here, that's fine. But if there's some question as to whether Market Square can or cannot apply for the same license, how would Laredo Hospitality control that? I don't mind putting it in because it's going to go by the village attorney and he'll make that determination.
Okay, thank you. And I'm okay with the exclusivity also. And then lastly, the condition on the number of machines, that we put a condition in there for the machines to stay at 5. Commissioner Schaaf?
I agree, 5 should be the limit.
Commissioner Steinle?
Again, let's go for 5 now. We can change it if it works.
Commissioner Dorbin?
5.
Commissioner Johnson?
5.
Commissioner Burns?
Again, I'll agree with that, but the village attorney will tell us if we overstepped our bounds, and the village board ultimately is going to decide if they agree with us or not.
Right.
So.
I agree. I agree with you, but I agree with the number. I mean, this is new to us, and I think we want to try to put as many conditions on there as possible. So With that said, do I hear a motion? Yes, oh, wait, one more. I wanted another condition on the smoking area.
If I could just read through them, though.
Yes,
The
please do.
first two were from the staff report. The poll on the hours did not appear to change this, so the current language would be that the hours of operation shall be limited to the hours specified by the liquor license. Number two, that the gaming entertainment aspect of the special use shall expire should the license be voided by the state of Illinois. Number three, that the shopping center shall be limited to the gaming terminals in the subject unit. Number four, that no one under 21 years of age be allowed into the establishment. Number five, the number of gaming terminals be limited to 5. Number 6, that the number of seats, 34, includes the table seating, handicap seats, movable poofs, and gaming terminals.
Got to come up with a better name than Poofs.
How does that spell?
That is P-O-O-F. For the record. And number 7, that a smoking area is designated either by the Dundee Road sidewalk or within the parking lot, with the area near the door designated as a non-smoking area.
Great, thank you. Mr. Stalin?
Andrew, could you repeat that condition that the special use or something would expire if the state of Illinois does something?
That the gaming entertainment aspect of the special use shall expire should the license be voided by the state of Illinois.
Because this is such a brand-new use, would it be wise to add a condition very similar to that one that says, should the current owner of Stella's change that, because he might not maintain the same high-level capabilities that somehow that special use would expire. Do you get what I'm trying to do?
Yes, you're looking, I think we have established that in other special uses that expires immediately if there's a change of ownership?
Correct.
Right.
And again, a new owner could come back and...
Right, do the same thing, exactly.
Is the gaming license tied to the one who first applies, or is it to the building? Or
We're talking about the special use, not the gaming license.
Yeah, we're talking about,
Yeah.
Yeah, see, the special, I think where we're going is that somebody could come in and have a gaming license and not have to come before us because the special use had not expired.
So with this wording, maybe this will satisfy that concern. Condition number 2 reworded, that the gaming entertainment aspect of the special use shall expire under change of license holder or should the license be voided by the state of Illinois.
Yep, great. Sure, and I think our liquor license kind of does the same thing. You can't just transfer a liquor license, you have to go through a whole.
Right. Great.
So I think it'll be.
Good point, thank you. Was that it?
That was it.
So, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Johnson and a second by Commissioner Burns. Mr. Secretary.
Commissioner Johnson, I vote yes. Commissioner Burns?
Yes.
Commissioner Dorband?
Yes?
Commissioner Schaaf?
Yes.
Commissioner Steilen?
Yes.
And Chairman Raffato?
Yes. Do I hear a motion to close this public hearing?
But before we close, could I just add a comment that my vote would not have been yes if any of the conditions were not capable of being met.
Great, thank you.
And I'll make a motion to close.
Thank you.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. You'll have something to sign.
Great, thank you.
Wait, I need that.
No, he needs.
Oh, no, I don't need it. I can do it here. That's all right.
He doesn't.
Tell me when you're ready. Start printing those. I'm going to, am I going to go to you first? Saying why
Yes.
And then I'm going to go to him first, saying why he's abstaining. Then I'm going to go to you
He's proud of that title.
I know.
Like this, you know. That's how I would say it. Moving on.
I'll wait until we're done, then I'll call it.
That's Don's if lightning bolts come out of the sky, then you say,
So you said copying in the middle.
7:45.
Calling docket number 2013-4, Sir Hadash, 200 West Dundee Road, special use for religious assembly. Commissioner Johnson.
Mr. Chairman, as employee of the present owner of the property involved here and as a potential future tenant of the petitioner, I am going to be abstaining from any discussion or vote on this docket.
Thank you. And with that, because he is the secretary, we have a secretary pro tem, Commissioner Burns. So, Mr. Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Shir Hadash, Reconstructionist Synagogue, contract purchaser is seeking special use site plan approval as required under Title 19 zoning of the Village of the Wheeling Municipal Code, Chapter 19-05, Mixed Use and Overlay Districts, Chapter 19-10, Use Regulations, Chapter 19-12, Site Plan Approval Requirements and associated sections in order to establish a religious assembly at 200 West Dundee. And did I pronounce that correctly?
Shir Hadash.
Shir? Thank you. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Jennings.
Before I hand it over to the petitioner, I had just one comment from the staff report. Just as a matter of procedure, should this be approved, there is a request associated with the petition to have a existing business remain in as a tenant for some period of time to be determined. If that tenant were to vacate the space, the plans would come through for a review by the staff for determination as to the extent of the public review. It could be considered a new public hearing depending on what is proposed for that space. So I just want to state that up front.
Understood.
With that, I would pass it to Mr. Berman and the petitioner.
Thank you. So, just to make this easy, who will be speaking tonight?
I will.
Just you?
Or whoever else.
Whoever,
you
well, your petitioners.
You might want to swear in 3 other people.
That's fine. So if whoever thinks they're going to speak, it makes it much easier as we go through. So if you could just raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you give tonight to be the truth?
I do.
Thank you. And if you could give all of your names to our secretary, that would be great.
And I will introduce them. My name is Scott Berman, and good evening, commissioners. I am the attorney for Shir Hadash Synagogue. With me tonight are Rabbi Eitan Weiner-Kaplow, Congregation President Jeff Walk, and the Chairman of the Building Committee, Mehran Ferman-Depor. They have all worked with their committees internally to get us to this point and to plan a good reconstruction of this building. Their intent is to purchase, as you've read in the petition, and renovate 200 West Dundee, now occupied by Rails, and possibly to be occupied by Rails in some degree in the future. My client has been an 18-year synagogue, operating with offices currently in Northbrook and holding services at a church in Lincolnshire, but they have been fluid over the last 18 years and moved from community to community, all in this north suburban area, and that's where their congregants come from. They intend to house themselves permanently now in Wheeling. They have approximately 160 family members, 120 children in their school. The staff is only four full-time staff, a rabbi, an administrator, an education director, and a music director. The synagogue has 20 part-time teachers and staff on school days. Their hours of operation are only in intense operation Friday evenings and Saturday morning services, Sunday morning school, occasional meetings and fundraising social events on weekday evenings, and that's very occasional, a few times a year. The site has a 60-car parking lot. It actually has more parking right now, but those were non-conforming uses, and upon reconstruction, they will be 60 parking spaces, more than adequate for the size of the congregation and the number of seats intended in the building. And the driveway, because of its former commercial industrial use by rails, is particularly wide and therefore would allow for the stacking of cars, which does occur at times in a school environment where cars will come in, drop off children, and leave. And this driveway is very long and very wide and allows for the two-way traffic of ingress and egress. With that said, we entertain questions and comments, and my clients are looking forward to being part of Wheeling.
Great, thank you. This is a public hearing, and I will ask if there's anybody in the audience that wishes to speak now. No, thank you. Okay, we'll close that portion of the public hearing, and we'll go to comments and questions from the commission members. And I'm going to start with Commissioner Dorband.
Thank you. The school will be operating part-time?
One day a week.
One day a week.
Sunday mornings.
Okay. And the only thing that's concerning me, as far as the cars going in and out, is crossing across 4 lanes of traffic, you know, to get to, if they want to go east. Going west, it would not be an issue, but going east would be an issue. Have you considered how they might handle that?
Mayor?
Good evening. My name is Mehran Faramanpur. I'm the architect working with the congregation. I'm also the chairman of the building committee, wearing 2 hats. The fact that we do have a transition lane in the middle of Dundee Road certainly helps. That's going to be the biggest help to that particular issue. It's not unlike any other business in that particular building or any other buildings in the area. They have to cross traffic. They have to be careful about it, of course. I would imagine most of these parents with children in the car will be extra careful about it.
I guess my question with that in mind is that I know that St. Joe's makes arrangements to have, you know, an officer out there directing traffic. I just wonder how that's going to work out, because it can, you know, conceivably you could all be there at the same time. You know, that's my only concern.
We have, in fact, talked about it. I talked with Andrew about it specifically and in detail. We've talked about various options. If, in fact, it turns out...
Could you speak into the microphone?
Of course. I have a low voice to begin with, so I apologize for that. We did talk about it. There are a number of things we can do to alleviate any problems if, in fact, we do find that there are going to be problems with traffic. Hiring another cop so that they can direct our traffic is an option. We'll look into it once we are operational, the school starts. First week, second week, we would have a very good idea of how much conflict there might be, how much traffic we are going to generate, and so forth. A couple of things to keep in mind is that some of our congregants, and naturally the kids then, are coming from west. So we guess about half of the traffic coming out of this facility is going to be going west anyway. So we're only dealing with about half the cars. They are going to be coming out over a period of maybe half hour. Not everybody's going to pick up their kids and run out. They do come in, they socialize. The kids take a while to kind of get their act together and get in the car and so forth. So it will be a period of time where, say, I think we figured the worst case scenario would be about 100 cars entering or exiting during preschool and after school, half of them going westbound. You're talking about 50 cars over 30 minutes. It's really not a huge amount of traffic. Another option was to, put up a sign in the building saying, look, if you're going out between this time and this time, let's say it's 1 o'clock to 1:30 when St. Joseph's afternoon or noon service gets out, if you're going out between 1 and 1:30, exit westbound only, you have to go around, go to Lake Cook, go south, or make a U-turn in one of the shopping centers or something like that. But we certainly are very cognizant of that issue, and we'll address it as soon as
I
we
guess
find
my
it.
next question is a staff question. Maybe have the police department commented on this at all, or?
Yes, they
is
have.
it- Okay, they don't,
The police were asked to take a look at the plan, the drop-off pickup overlap potential for this time, this Sunday around 1 o'clock. The three solutions I think are, depending on the extent to which there is an overlap, I think those three solutions, I believe our police could take a look and review it. I think the police, in our discussion with them, did specifically mention the turn restriction and having a officer on hand. So I think the police would be open to a discussion as well.
And the summary is we'll cooperate with the village in any way.
Rails provide such an important service for the libraries. I'm glad to see that you're going to allow them to remain there because, and I don't know if everybody understands what Rails does, but they provide the interlibrary loan options for surrounding libraries, and they provide a very important service to the libraries, and I'm glad to see you're working with them to keep them there.
My client is happy to cooperate with Rails, and we'll keep them as long as they are willing to be tenants. And it seems like a very compatible use.
Can you explain, just give me an idea of what you're going, because the way the building interior is laid out, are you going to be able to use it that way, or are you going to be, is most of it going to go away and you're going to start over, or?
As Andrew suggested at the beginning, with Rails' current use of the entire southern portion of the building, that will not need to be renovated by my client. My client is only going to be working in the northern portion of the building, and that will take some reworking of the space for office space, for sanctuary, for social room, for meeting space. But it shouldn't be too difficult of a renovation, leaving the entire southern portion of the building as it is, as the current Rails space. Rails will occupy that. Andrew brings up that if at some point Rails does move out, we will then be coming back before you looking for approval to renovate that space or to occupy by someone else. But right now our intent is to have Rails there for the immediate future and then to grow into that space immediately to the south.
Thank you. That's all my questions for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Schaaf.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As far as the presentation and your documents and everything, I have no problem with it. The only thing that I can think of is at some point in time, there's going to be a traffic light out here, a community boulevard, and I wonder if that's going to affect, or how that will affect your establishment, if it will. And has any thought been given to that?
It would affect us positively, actually. It would slow traffic movement at that point, answering Commissioner Dorban's concerns of traffic turning eastbound out onto Dundee because traffic would have been slowed for the traffic light.
Yeah, I know that St. Joe's welcomes that because the expense of hiring a police officer is removed.
Sure.
But that was my only comment on this issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Steilen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As long as we're on the traffic issue, are your hours adjustable enough that, you could move 15 minutes this way or that way?
They are.
Because I don't think St. Joseph's traffic lasts much more than a 15-minute period. That's when everybody seems to exit the facility, and it's light after that. So
we have discussed that, and we are willing to accommodate the village concerns, if that is part of it.
My next question is, my presumption is that that your facility may be tax exempt.
That is correct.
And the current use of the building, seeing as how it's northwest suburban, is probably already tax exempt.
Also correct.
And my presumption is Rails as a tenant, are they a tax exempt
They're governmental.
subsidiary of the library, whatever? But you did mention that if they move out, you might seek another tenant.
We do not seek another tenant. I possibly misspoke. My clients hope to grow into that space when that becomes available, but by no means pushing Rails out in the meantime. Rails can stay fairly, as long as they want, for the next few years, and then we will discuss growth. But there is no intent to rent that out to anyone else.
I'm glad that's your intent, but if for whatever reason Rails were to go and you had, what would happen if a tax-producing entity were to take over a portion of that space?
Well, my client has not yet been given the tax-exempt status that they seek, but they will probably be given that, and at that time, they would have to then reapply, and they would only get a portion of the property tax-exempt. But we are by no means thinking in that direction, but yes, we would have to go back to the county, acknowledge the fact that we no longer were fully occupied by tax-exempt organizations.
That was my only concern. I wouldn't have had any questions until that comment came up, so thank you. Welcome to Wheeling.
Thanks.
Commissioner Burns.
Thank you. I had concerns about the parking. Sounds like solutions are being looked at. You are going to work with staff, especially the Police Department Traffic Division.
Yes.
Seems to me that one of the solutions might be to stagger your class times with the mass times. That might help keep the police officer busy looking at only one side of Dundee Road at a time. And the fire department has several recommendations. I know you want to, not only with the building now having 2 tenants, but you want to have a fire pit outside, which will be a nice amenity, I would think, but it's going to, obviously conform to all the fire regulations.
Absolutely. And we will work closely with the fire department in addressing those concerns about the construction and the placement of the fire pit.
Okay. Welcome to Wheeling. Those are my comments, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
I'd just briefly interject the comment on the traffic control officer. When we spoke with the police department, they indicated that the driveways are physically too far apart for a single officer. It would be a second officer, just to clarify.
Okay, my experience as a St. Joe's parishioner since 1987 is that the officer is out there when cars are going into Mass, and he's out there when cars are coming out of Mass, but during Mass, he actually can go park in the driveway in front of the fire and police station right here. Now, if the class times were in between the start of Mass and the end of Mass, that officer could be then helping the traffic coming out of the temple.
That's correct. I was referring to the current simultaneous situation. They said that it would be physically too far.
Oh, but sounds like a possibility with staggered times.
Okay. Thanks.
Mr. Antor, anything else?
The review comments I provided to the commission addresses all the concerns that we have. One of them is a maintenance issue, that being the access to the existing fire department connection. The second item would be the fire pit that Commissioner Burns just brought up. Based on looking at the drawings and the space that's available within the courtyard and the code requirements for that, there's 2 ways you could do it, and it does not appear that either one of them could be code compliant unless you are able to make the courtyard larger, which obviously is not going to happen. Have some suggestions for fire lanes, mostly as a means of clarifying where people should not be parking in the event of a event that exceeds your normal weekly gathering. And then the last item, which Again, we're not looking at building plans, we're looking at a use of the property right now, but within the building code, there are provisions and requirements when you have multiple tenants occupying a building and exiting through another tenant's space that, from what I'm seeing so far, are not met. May have to require some additional doors, partitions, something of that nature to comply with those code sections.
We agree. We intend to fully comply so that everyone has
They're not
ingress and egress.
They're not insurmountable issues, but they're not necessarily appropriate at this point because we're talking about the concept of what the property is being used for, but bringing it up to make you fully aware of that that's an issue in the future.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Well, I have a number of questions. You indicate that your high holidays are held at Our Lady of the Brook, right? Yes.
Yes.
And at some point, I've got to believe that you intend on, you'd like to have them in your synagogue, I would assume, right? At some point in time?
Not necessarily. There are many synagogues throughout the city and suburbs that operate and have operated for some 40 and 50 years without high holiday services on premises. I'm a member of Temple Beth Israel in Skokie. We have not had our services, our high holiday services, in that synagogue building since the 1970s in Albany Park. Ever since we've been in Skokie, we've been at Evanston Township High School. And that's why many of the high schools in the area are closed, not only because of the number of Jewish teachers and students, but because they rent out their auditorium facilities for synagogues that are having services there.
Okay. So
it would be, it's an unnecessary expense to build out for the 1,000 people that possibly could come for a large service.
Right. And I completely understand that because, you know, we have our holidays too, and they tend to grow at those, yeah, only on those ones. So I completely understand.
Yes, we all are.
So what is your growth rate too? I mean, you have, I think you said 160 families, 120 school children. What are you looking for as far as growth?
Oh, yes.
We're hoping to grow 40, I'm Rabbi Eitan Weiner Kaplow. Good evening, everyone. We're hoping to grow about 40 families, bring us up to about the 200 family.
Over a period of time?
Over a number of years, 3,
Okay.
4 years.
Okay.
That's a nice size congregation.
Congregation, okay. So, but to that point, and maybe you could stay here too, I would assume you would have wedding services in your temple.
Yes, indeed.
Right. So that is probably going to draw a larger amount of people to that service. Or you also mentioned that you might have occasionally something during the week at night, maybe something that the kids put on or something. That's definitely going to draw more people. How are you going to handle, how are you going to handle that type of parking? Because you want celebrations there, like every church does. You want celebrations. So how are you going to do that?
If we find that we've addressed this, of course, and the committees have met many times on the subject. If it turns out that the social events or the celebrations require larger parking needs, and that's the only need that would be required, then we can look to adjacent properties to rent space from them during off-use times.
We do have an agreement, as Wales does right now, with the school that we can have up to 20 of their parking spaces if necessary, while the school is not in session.
So you have a cross-access agreement with them, some type of agreement with the school in writing?
Correct. We have contacted them. In fact, one of our members, one of the board members is here. He has talked to them. He secured the same agreement that Wales has, which is to get 20 parking spaces if necessary.
But the The building itself will only accommodate a celebration, a social event of a certain size. So as the sanctuary is to be built out, as you see it, with only 150 seats, much though the congregation might want to have larger celebrations, they wouldn't be able to have them here.
There's always standing room.
No, I guess that's true.
There's
That's
always
true.
standing room.
And a good thing for a
Right.
church or a synagogue.
I was just at a wedding at a church, and there was standing room, so it's entirely possible. And that, I think, would be, those special events, I think you need to take special consideration of, because I can understand your Friday night services and your high holidays are going to be at Our Lady of the Brook, but I think you need to take special care in addressing those issues, and I'm glad you have an agreement with the school that I think you might want to possibly increase going forward if you're thinking about that. So
we will.
Okay, great, thank you. The side yard, you own a piece of property to the east.
Correct.
And you talked about gardens, and so is that all you're thinking about there?
That is all that is being currently discussed, and even that is not planned, other than a discussion of how nice it would be as we own this vacant land to the east, and it would be nice to put it to some use, but no buildable use, all gardens.
Right, and so just, be aware that, if you're thinking about something in that area, just walk across the street to the village and say, we're thinking about doing this, because, there's going to be permitting involved if you go anything more than a garden, so, okay. Then, speaking of, we talk about garden, I know you talked about possibly adding some flowers and things like that to the landscape plan, to the landscaping. The landscape right now is really mature. I personally, and I'll take a poll of the Plan Commission, I would like to see a more formal landscape plan for the property, the front and the back and everything. I'd like to see an established landscape plan, because we can, and I'm not going to hold up anything for this, and because we've done it in the past, but we'd like to see something that we have formally in our records as we move forward, and I'll ask the Plan Commission if they agree to that, just so we have something in place going forward.
Our architect has already done a study of what plants are there, recognizes the mature nature of them. Many of them need pruning and trimming and thinning, with the addition of many more ornamental plants that the synagogue is prepared to put in.
Great.
And we will give you that entire plan.
So that's good. Is everybody in agreement with that, Commissioner Schaaf? Commissioner Stadler?
That's fine.
Yes. Durbin? Commissioner Burns?
Yes.
Okay. Then back to your school hours on Sundays. It's a total of 9 to 1. You don't have classes that go from 9 to 11 and 11 to 1. So they're there from 9 o'clock until 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
That's correct.
So, and you did talk about adjusting the hours if need be. And with that, the drawing I'm seeing here, and I had a question about this, the traffic flow. Can you describe, are you going to put signs there? I assume that's for probably your Sunday school.
That's correct.
Okay. So you're going to somehow, how are you going to direct them to ensure that they take that path?
A combination of signage and parent volunteers, as many synagogues and churches do.
Right.
The signage starts the system, of course, and then a couple of parent volunteers to enforce the system.
Okay. Okay, good.
Not difficult, though. The parking lot actually lays out quite nicely for it already, with just some changes that we intend to make to bring it into code compliance. As you can see, the flow is quite good.
Okay. Then back to the parking. I think from a St. Joe's perspective, and Commissioner Burns, your parishioner there, I think it's a noon mass. There's a noon mass at St. Joe's.
Yep.
It's probably 15 minutes or so. So it's, there's going to be possibly some overlap. So I'm grateful that you're would consider changing those hours up. How would everybody feel that if we maybe put in a condition that we get some type of formal review after a month of usage? So we.
Maybe 3 months?
But I'm, either way, I was just thinking because I know there's some concern and then maybe we can get something formalized, or do we just let it flow and?
Their hours are what, 9 to 1?
9 to 1.
And that Spanish Mass gets out at 1:30.
It's an hour and a half?
They go past 1 o'clock more times than not. And they socialize and everything, and I think the bulk of it comes out right around, wouldn't you say, Mike? Right around 1:30.
Well, I know that the 9 o'clock Mass, of course, is bumped up right now with the hours that they're planning to start the school day.
That's right.
If they work with the, traffic division of the police department, if they were to move from 9:30 to 1:30, now they're kind of on the other end, they're jammed up.
Right.
I'm just fine with work with staff. That's the experts on traffic control, and they'll figure out the best solution that is
Work with staff instead of
helpful to
putting any
everyone.
kind of condition in their review or something?
I currently have it written as the three options that were discussed, that the language in the draft motion is that the synagogue shall address potential traffic conflicts on Sunday afternoons with measures such as hiring a traffic control officer, restricting left turns, or adjusting the start-in time of the school.
Okay.
Those are all fine.
You're okay? Commissioner Durbin, you all right with that? Yes. Great. Commissioner?
Yes, I'm good with it.
Okay, great. So am I. Let me look at my notes. I think that was all I had. Does anybody else have any other comments? So, Mr. Jennings, could you review the conditions?
The one condition I don't have worded was the consensus on the landscaping. It was a request to submit a formal landscape plan. Is there a time associated with that?
I think it should be before it goes to the village board. It should be part of the village board.
Yeah, it should be part of the village board review.
Packet.
Yes.
Right.
And that doesn't necessarily tie it to when you have to put it in. Just as long as it's part of the packet of going to the village board, that would be great.
That's acceptable. That's great.
Okay, great. And the staff will review it for us. And Mr. Chef, you okay with that?
I'm okay with that.
Commissioner Stan, obviously. Commissioner Dorban?
Yes.
Great, thank you.
And just to clarify what we would do with that review, we would take a look at the plan. So far, our staff review of that area has been that the existing mature landscaping, there are some areas around it where some perennials, annuals might be added. And then, as the petitioner suggested, trimming the existing landscaping.
If that information is there, then that's fine.
Okay, good. So the conditions, the two from the staff report, number one, that a community garden or orchard can be permitted without publishing a new public hearing. Number two, that the requirements of the Life Safety Code as described in the Fire Department memo dated January 17th are met. Number three, that the floor plans associated with the future use of the south wing shall be submitted to staff for a determination as to the extent of the review required. Number four, the synagogue shall address potential traffic conflicts on Sunday afternoons with measures such as hiring a traffic control officer, restricting left turns, or adjusting the start or end time of the school. And number five, the petitioner shall submit a more formal landscape plan prior to village board review.
Can I just add something, Mr. Chairman?
Of course.
One of the landscaping items that needs to be emphasized is in the fire department's report, because those overgrown bushes have been blocking the fire department connection for as long as I can remember, which is the pipe in the wall that we hook up to in case of a fire, and then we can feed the sprinkler system. So
it'll be one of the first things addressed.
Great, thank you. No other questions? Do I hear a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Steinle, second by Commissioner Schaaf. Mr. Secretary.
Commissioner Steinle.
Yes.
Commissioner Schaaf,
Yes.
Commissioner Dorband,
Yes?
Commissioner Johnson.
Abstain?
I'm Commissioner Burns. I vote yes. Chairman Rufato.
Yes.
5 yes votes and 1 abstention.
That's it. Thank you. Welcome to the community.
Thank you very much.
You have something to sign? Good luck.
Thank you.
Need a motion to close, please.
We need a motion to close.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Closed.
Mr. Berman? The final vote of the village board will be scheduled in the near future. We'll be in touch with you. We have to check their agenda and see when the space is available. It's usually within the next few weeks.
My clients and I will be available whenever it's ready. Thanks.
Wow.
Wow. Good.
What's she going to do now?
Always another client, the real estate brokers.
Oh, okay. Good.
Get to sign. Oh,
It could be son.
No, I'll gotta give him a call.
Yeah, I'll go over and take it. Good. That was a good one. Okay,
Thank you all very much.
good luck. Approval of minutes for January 10th.
So moved.
Second?
You have, Mr. Chairman, yeah. It's not on the minutes, it's in the findings and recommendations that are
Okay.
part and parcel,
So
I
let's
believe.
do the minutes first.
Okay.
So do we have a motion? We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, you had something in the findings?
Yes, on page 9 of the 11 pages.
Page
On which docket? 2013?
2013-2. That citizen, Ms. Michelle, identified here as Moran, is in the minutes as Ms. Michelle Duran, and my best recollection is that's how she introduced herself at the microphone.
That's the one we just-
Duran with a D. And then on page 11 of the same findings, shows Commissioner Burns voting twice and Commissioner Stylen voting not at all. And I believe underneath Commissioner, or we're given our reasons for the way we voted actually there. And I believe after Commissioner Schaaf, that would have been Commissioner Stylen's comment.
Oh, yeah. And I looked at that.
And
You agree, Commissioner Stylen?
I'd have to go and peek, but
Oh, you got your-
sure.
it appears, the comments were made in order from
Yeah.
this end.
Yes.
It looks like that.
Right, yep. Great, we'll have those changed. Thank you. They seem very pleasant to work with. It's really nice. I love seeing people happy. Other business, Mr. Jennings, anything from you, sir?
Not at this time, thank you.
Okay, great. Commissioner Burns,
Nothing, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Johnson,
I have nothing.
Commissioner Dorban,
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Stylen.
Of course.
Of course. Wait, hold on a second. Commissioner Schaaf first.
Thank you, but I have nothing.
Okay,
Thank you.
Commissioner Stylen.
Of course.
Thank you, Mr. Sherman.
I just didn't want to make Commissioner Schaaf wait.
It's been a long-standing tradition of the Plan Commission. However, I'm not sure if many of the current Plan Commission have participated in it, but we used to have an annual or semi-annual sign award for the most creative sign of the last year or two. And I would suggest that we once again enter into that practice and congratulate some of our businesses that have come up with what we believe are
creative,
very nice and creative signs.
Well, I thought that we had given some to Andrew already, but we may not have had.
I don't think we've given a plaque out or an award for years.
But I know
so.
we had given him some.
Yep.
Usually keep a running list, and I can dust it off and see. The last list may have been awarded fully. I mean, our last round of nominations may have actually been awarded. I'll have to double check that. I'm not totally sure.
Could you, when is our next meeting? February 7th? No. 14th, Valentine's Day, that's right. It's going to go over real well. Could you have something by the 14th? For us to review?
Sure. If you have any nominations in the meantime, if you're driving around and something strikes you as particularly creative, shoot me an email. I'll add it to the list. I tend to keep that list going, and it has been a while since I've added anything to it. So if you think of something, let me know, and I'll check it.
Great. We just need to, I think Commissioner Stylen, I think you, Commissioner Dorban, and myself were probably the only ones that last awarded one. So we maybe have to, we put together the calendar of the dates of our meetings, and maybe we need to just add that as a date. I know we did that, and we used to do appearance of commercial properties.
Now you're really going back.
Yeah.
We actually, we did do, the last round of signs, we did an appearance as well.
We did an appearance as well. That might take a little bit longer to establish, but nothing really strikes me. But
It's a little hard in this kind of weather to.
yeah, it is. It is, right. So maybe, maybe something like that, we establish that, we set some dates as to when it begins and ends, and then we have an opportunity to look at them again, in the summer or the spring, which would probably be the ideal time to do that. And then give an award in the fall or something.
Yeah, I think in the past we used to, take 10 or 15 signs, pass them out, and then we'd vote, cull it down to maybe half a dozen, and then the next meeting we'd, cull it down to first, second, and third, and then, it went over a number of meetings, so.
Great. Yeah, I like that idea. Good, thank you.
My next item is to say thank you to staff for isolating out the findings of fact on the agendas. That makes it a lot easier for me to look back and find them in the future. So
great.
Thank you for doing that. I hope you continue that in the future.
Thank you.
And that's it, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Brooke, anything? Or motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor for adjournment?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you all. Thanks, Ron.